beyond belief. Fact or fiction? Hosted by Jonathan Frakes. Tonight, your challenge is to separate what is true from what is false. 5 stories, some real, some fake. Can you judge which are fact and which are fiction? To find out, you must enter a world of both truth and deception, a world that is beyond belief.
Sometimes truth and illusion are one and the same. For example, this simple spiral. It measures precisely 13 inches. Now, watch as I stretch it out. What does it measure now? Exactly the same. The truth is that it only appears to be stretching out. Nothing about its measurements are changing. Truth and illusion, side by side, just as in tonight's stories. We'll tell you which are true and which are false at the end of the show. And keep in mind, what appears true may in fact be false, and what appears to be a fabrication may not be a stretch at all. Does your computer ever seem to have a mind of its own? Does it ever hide a file from you, or sometimes print a file you didn't ask for? And if the communication between your computer and your printer breaks down, this can be the result. Valerie Sims is going to take some time off to be alone with her thoughts, her hopes, and her computer. But what's about to happen to her, no computer could possibly program.
I've been happily married for the past 18 years. I had a supportive husband and a great son. And then one day, out of the blue, I was hit with a full-blown midlife crisis. Something was missing. I was feeling terribly unfulfilled. I had always wanted to be a writer, but I never seemed to have the time. There was always something else to do, and the writing just kept getting pushed to the next day. I finally decided to take a stand and commit myself to my writing. I knew I couldn't do it at home, so I rented a small house on Moonstruck Beach to try and knock out the great American novel. It was the perfect setting, quiet and inspiring. I was just having a little trouble getting started. It was amazing. When I was at home, I always had a million stories running through my head. Now I couldn't think of one. I'd been working on a couple of ideas for about a week, but I wasn't getting anywhere at all. My husband Joe called almost every day, offering words of encouragement.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. My name's Jerry Corbin. I'm the caretaker around here.
Valerie Sims.
I know. I got about a half dozen houses I take care of.
You must keep pretty busy.
I do. There's always something. You need anything done?
No, everything seems to be fine.
Cool. I live in that little house right up the hill. If you need anything at all, just give a holler.
Thanks. I will. I took a long walk, hoping to break through my writer's block. And suddenly, I saw it. It was gone. I could have sworn I saw a woman's body lying in that same exact spot. There was nothing there. I must have seen a shadow, but it looked so real from up there. I needed to relax and figure out why I was seeing things. But then things kept getting stranger. I hadn't written anything, and I wondered where it had come from. As I caught the reflection in the glass, I clearly saw the name Deanna Lindsay. It was everywhere on the page. I kept asking myself over and over again, who was Deanna Lindsay? I didn't know anyone by that name. And what was going on here? I was feeling very uneasy, even a little afraid.
It's just me, Mrs. Sims.
Oh, hi, Jerry.
I was just going to make a run to the market and wondered if you needed anything.
No, thanks.
All right. I'll see you later.
Oh, Jerry, have you ever heard of a woman called Deanna Lindsay?
Deanna Lindsay? Yeah, sure. She rented this house about a year ago. She was a writer just like you.
Oh.
It was terrible. I mean, she committed suicide. She jumped off the bluff, and they found her on the rocks. Why do you ask?
Well, I just remember reading something about it in the paper.
Oh, yeah. It was a big story around here. It's pretty sad. She was a real nice woman.
Mm.
So, you sure I can't bring you back something?
Oh, thanks. I could not get the image of that woman's dead body out of my mind. I wondered if this was where they found Deanna Lindsay. Was it her I saw? But how could that be? Nothing was making any sense. All I could think about was getting in my car and driving as far away from that beach house as I possibly could.
Trouble, Mrs. Sims? Get out of the car! I told you get out of that car! I told you get out of that
The sheriff found Jerry Corbin lying in the driveway unconscious. He eventually admitted to pushing Deanna Lindsay off the bluffs and to the murder of 2 other women in the area. I went back home after that and wrote my first novel. I called it Moonstruck Beach.
Was it really the ghost of Deanna Lindsay who visited Valerie Sims? Could the printout have been some sort of psychic connection from one writer to another? Or were the messages typed by Jerry Corbin? Was he playing some sort of twisted game? Whatever happened, 3 murders were solved and 1 was prevented. Is this story a garbled work of fiction? Or does it actually reflect the truth?
We'll find out if this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, a dying woman is visited by a mysterious stranger on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Hospital rooms can be drab, depressing places. That's why it's a thoughtful and helpful gesture to send patients gifts to cheer their spirits. In fact, many psychologists believe there's a healing power in gifts like these, along with, of course, personal visits. Ruth Atkins is seriously ill in a room at Mercy Hospital. Nobody's sending anything to her room. Right now, Nurse Peyton is concerned. She's about to be astounded.
I never wanted to work in one of those sprawling medical centers where the patients were only referred to by their room number or by their insurance company billing ID. So I was glad to find a job at Mercy Memorial where I could give my patients personal attention. One of those patients was Ruth Atkins. She had arrived at the hospital in a comatose state due to acute blood acidosis, a potentially fatal condition. Sadly, she had no visitors in the 3 days since she'd been admitted.
How's Mrs. Atkins doing?
Oh, she's not getting any better. Her blood pH levels are down and her blood pressure's extremely low.
Well, it's likely she'll never come out of that coma.
It's just sad that she has to be alone at a time like this.
It's not like she'd know if anyone was here.
I really believe that comatose patients can sense the presence of a loved one.
Well, then you'll be glad to know. The hospital's been able to locate Mrs. Atkins' son.
Oh, really? Is he going to come see her?
Well, he's in the Navy, stationed on a ship in the Bering Sea, but he is trying to arrange a leave.
Well, I just pray that he gets here in time. It was later that same day when I saw a man visiting Mrs. Atkins.
He's not on this floor. Yes, but oddly, doctors don't report their whereabouts to me.
Oh. Well, it looks like Mrs. Atkins finally has a visitor.
Oh, I hadn't noticed. The hospital community liaison might have notified Mrs. Atkins' church. Yes?
Yeah, he must be her minister.
Okay.
Huh. Looks like Mrs. Atkins' blood pressure has improved. With Mrs. Atkins' particular illness, it was unheard of for a patient to experience such sudden improvement. The doctors couldn't explain it, but I was grateful just the same. It may have bought enough time for her son to see his mother one last time. As it turned out, Mrs. Atkins' improvement had been temporary. Her vital signs dipped back down during the night. The prognosis wasn't promising, and her son hadn't arrived yet.
Joni, I know how much you wanted Mrs. Atkins to pull through. I know how much you root for all your patients, but it's going to wear you down if you keep getting this emotionally involved with every patient that you care for.
I didn't become a nurse so that I could be disinterested in the outcome.
But you have to realize that for Mrs. Atkins to pull through this, it would take a miracle.
Well, I happen to believe in miracles. Deep down, I knew the senior nurse was right. I shouldn't hold out hope. But then, just as before, Mrs. Atkins' condition suddenly improved. The man continued to visit her regularly, and with each visit, Mrs. Atkins seemed to get better. Eventually, she came out of her coma, baffling the doctors once again. When her son arrived, we were able to greet him with the best possible news. His mother was headed for a full recovery.
They want to keep an eye on me a little longer, but they say I'll be able to go home soon.
Well, it looks like you fooled all those doctors. They didn't know my mother was made of such tough stuff.
With her condition stabilized, Mrs. Atkins moved out of intensive care and into a private room on the lower floor.
Thank you for taking such good care of my mother.
Joni, come in.
Hi, I just finished my shift, so I thought I'd drop by. Wow, your room looks so cheery.
My son brought some things from home to make me feel more comfortable.
Oh, what beautiful flowers.
Some people from the church brought those by yesterday when they looked in on me.
Oh, that reminds me. I stopped by because I found your Bible in your room in ICU.
How on earth did it get there?
Oh, I think that your minister left it there.
My minister?
Your visitor? It's a beautiful Bible.
My husband gave me this Bible. We used to go to church every Sunday. Here's a photo of us taken on Easter a few years back.
Oh, this is your husband. He has such a warm and comforting smile. I thought he was your minister.
Oh, heavens no. Martin was never in the clergy. He was a building contractor. Until he passed away 2 years ago.
But that man who was just here.
You're the first visitor I've had today, dear.
After questioning her co-workers, Joni learned she was the only person who ever saw the man at Mrs. Atkins' bedside. Did Ruth Atkins' late husband actually return as an angel to visit her every day? Or was it Joni's own faith that permitted her to see a miracle? But how do you explain that it was only after Joni saw Mr. Atkins that Ruth started to recover? If you're looking for truth here, can you walk right in? Or are visiting hours over?
We'll find out if this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, a biking trip turns into a disaster on Beyond Belief. Fact or fiction?
Ever gone mountain biking? Bikes like these are not only great exercise, they're made to go over rough terrain, hills, gullies, and streams, wherever the adventures lie. Peter and Gary Villard are a father and son pair who love to go mountain biking. In fact, it's a family tradition. But as we all know, sometimes family traditions can turn into disasters. Gary Villard was a marketing executive for a successful sports equipment company in Denver, Colorado. Every summer for the past 16 years, Gary had accompanied his father, Peter, on a mountain biking trip to Aspen. This was the first time since he was 12 that Gary wasn't joining his father. And although he was stuck behind the desk, his thoughts kept drifting towards Aspen.
Gary? Gary, are you with me here?
Sorry, I just spaced out for a second. So, what about that shipment of snowboards?
I just told you they left yesterday, right on schedule.
I'm sorry, Kathy. My mind is somewhere else today.
You should have gone trail biking with your dad.
I wish I could have. But all these orders came in. I had to be here.
Well, you're not exactly here. I think it's great how close you two are.
I bet they're flying down Monument Trail right now.
At that moment, Gary's two boyhood friends, CJ and Kenny, were leading the way. But Gary's dad wasn't far behind.
You believe that last drop? Been jamming down that thing so fast, man, I hit those rocks.
Yeah, I almost bought it.
Oh, looky, here comes Peter. Hey, is that incredible or what?
I hate to admit it, guys. That trail's getting tougher and tougher every year.
Gary heard you say that he'd be all over your case.
Yeah, well, don't tell him. He still thinks I'm indestructible.
Sure wish he was here. It's not the same without him.
Sure isn't. But some people have to work. Not like you two bums.
How about last one down to Sunnyside buys the beers?
Tell you what. You guys go ahead. I'm taking Loggers Line Loop.
Loggers Line Loop? It's gonna take an extra 2 hours.
I'm in no hurry.
Well, I'll see you at Sunnyside, and you know where we'll be. All right?
That's weird. What happened?
I don't know.
Peter Villard knew that he'd never be able to climb out of the ravine on his own. He could feel that he had shattered his left leg on impact and had probably broken several ribs.
Gary.
Gary, your waterfall just stopped. It's still plugged in. The pump must have burned out.
Something's wrong with my dad. He's in trouble. I can feel it.
I'm sure everything's fine.
No, it's not. I've never felt this way before, Kathy. Book me on a flight to Aspen. I need to leave right away.
It's been almost 2 hours. Peter's sure taking his time.
You know that trail. Could be another hour before he gets down.
Hope he makes it before dark.
Peter was using all his outdoor experience to survive. He knew he must be going into shock, and he couldn't see how anyone would ever find him in time.
I gotta hit the John.
CJ, over here.
Gary? Is that you?
Peter's in trouble.
What?
He went off the trail and he's hurt. Get a search party together now.
How do you know this?
Just do it, or Peter will die.
Hey, man, give me a phone. Come on, man, give me a phone.
Hello? Dad, are you okay?
I'm all right, Gary.
Oh, thank God.
I'd still be here if you hadn't come to Aspen.
What do you mean? I didn't come to Aspen. I couldn't get a flight out of Denver because of the weather.
CJ Matson, the man at the bar, swears it was Gary who told him that Peter was hurt. Gary insists he never went to Aspen that day. Did Gary's love and concern for his father subconsciously transport him to the scene? Or was it someone else who told CJ to organize a search party? If so, who was it? And how would he know that Peter was hurt? In telling this story of the mountain bike trip gone bad, have we stayed on the trail of truth? Or have we gone off-road again?
Next, ghoulish secrets of the people next door on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Are you careful with your personal records? Many people have taken to using shredders like this one to destroy the papers they don't want lying around. Thieves and con artists can use discarded ATM receipts and utility bills to steal from you, even to assume your identity. Wade Harris is an expert in such crimes. He's never been stopped. But even the most cunning crook can pick the wrong victim.
I never held an honest job in my life. I figured, why should I if I didn't have to? It was always a new scam, something to keep the cash flowing in. I knew that most people are lazy. They never take the time to shred their credit card and bank statements. They just throw them in the trash without a second thought, like they were leaving them there just for me. I knew the garbage pickup days of all the best neighborhoods in Los Angeles by heart. It was easy work, and if I stayed smart, I figured I'd never get caught. I was doing well enough to rent a nice house up in the Hollywood Hills. All I needed was your canceled check or a credit card receipt, and I became you. At least long enough to transfer some of your money into my bank account. I was good at what I did, but I still hadn't made that one big score. And then they moved in across the street. They'd been living there for over 2 weeks, but I only saw them come and go late at night, just like me. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. First I thought they were father and daughter, but then it was Hollywood. I had a strict rule never to hit the garbage in my neighborhood, but I had to find out who they were. I was pretty sure that even if the woman did see me, the darkness would hide my identity. I found out that the man was a Baron Stokely Varadma, and he was loaded. I traced his account number to a Swiss bank. There were hundreds of thousands of dollars in the account. The only problem was cracking the access code. But that didn't take me long. I transferred a bundle out of Radman's account, so I decided to go out the next night and celebrate. I finally hit a big score.
What are you celebrating?
Oh, don't worry about it. I picked this girl up at a bar in Hollywood. I think her name was Brady. Used to, other people's money.
Are you expecting someone?
No.
Good evening. My name is Marta. I'm your neighbor from across the street.
Okay, I'm a little busy right now.
I have a business proposition for you.
A business proposition? Look,
I know what you've done. You've stolen money from Baron Varadma.
come on in.
What's going on?
Nothing. Party's over. Come on, let's go.
This really sucks. You're not so great.
So you gonna turn me in or what?
Quite the contrary. I want to be your partner.
What?
Baron Varadma's a horrible man. He thinks he owns me. I want to get back at him, and I want my freedom.
Right, so where do I fit in?
I know where all his money is. And you can help me break him.
I kept thinking, who was this woman? What was she up to? It all seemed too good to be true.
This is Varadma's main account.
There's $25 million in there.
Give me your account number and I'll make the transfer.
That's it.
Congratulations. You're a millionaire.
That's
incredible. Everything was happening so fast. I know we were kissing, but that's all I remember. I woke up on the floor, feeling like I'd been drugged.
I've decided to forget about the partnership and gain full control of the business.
What?
Took everything.
Police showed up the next morning and arrested me for grand larceny. I knew Marta had turned me in. But that was not all that she did.
Is it possible that Wade Harris had vampires for neighbors? Or were they just better con artists than he was? Wade did have those 2 puncture wounds on his neck, but maybe they were self-inflicted. And what about Wade's fangs? Were they real or porcelain caps? Maybe Wade had one more con up his sleeve to cop an insanity plea so he wouldn't do time in prison. In presenting this vampire tale, have we put the bite on you? Or is there a shred of truth?
We'll find out if this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, 2 hippies are wrongly accused of murder on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Ah, the 60s. The time of Woodstock, love beats, peace rallies. They say if you can remember the 60s, you weren't really there. But 2 young people who were definitely there are Jared Evans and Ginny Wakefield. In fact, as we join them, they're hitchhiking their way around the country. And these 2 flower children are about to find a path strewn with thorns.
Thanks a lot, man. Peace.
Back in 1967, I'd known Ginny Wakefield for about a year. It was the summer of love, and we were crazy about each other. We were on our way home to Petaluma, California, after spending the weekend in Haight-Ashbury, where it was all happening.
Oh, come on, stop!
Peace, brother!
I loved Ginny. She was such a free spirit. We didn't care about anything. The future was now. We hitched everywhere, to love-ins, to peace rallies, to rock concerts. But on that day, we're having a lot of trouble getting a ride.
Why don't they stop?
There's bad vibes in the air. Everyone must be a little uptight today.
Hey, baby, I am starving. You got any more like granola left?
Actually, we ate it all.
Finally! Hey, what's happening? Thanks for stopping. Far out car.
This is the right road to Petaluma?
Yeah, straight ahead.
That's where we're going.
Hey! That's a real bummer.
We forgot about the Mustang and caught a ride with the truck driver. He dropped us off at a general store on the outskirts of Petaluma.
Hey, you 2 need some help finding something?
No, we're cool.
Ginny and I were starving and broke, so I decided to liberate some food for the cause. I didn't notice that the owner was watching us in a security mirror.
Hey, hippie! You gonna pay for that stuff?
Ginny, look!
Jared, he's got a gun!
Get in! It's running!
The owner of the store called the cops, and 20 miles down the road, they caught up with us. Being arrested for shoplifting and stealing a car was bad enough. But what happened next changed our lives forever. got a dead body in here.
What? We had nothing to do with this, I swear. All we did is list some food and the guy had a shotgun, so we took the car, but we didn't kill anybody.
You freaks are in a lot of trouble. We told the police about the blonde woman with the lady luck tattoo, but they didn't care. Lots of people hated hippies back then, and we were found guilty of murder in the 2nd degree. Ginny and I spent the next 5 years in prison while we appealed the case. We were finally able to get a new lawyer, and he got us a new trial. Because of a lack of evidence, the verdict was overturned, and we were freed. Ginny and I never stopped loving each other. As soon as we got out of prison, we got married and opened a small health food restaurant with money from our parents. We've been in business for about 5 years, and we're doing pretty well. So we splurged and bought ourselves a used Mustang convertible.
Jared, what are you doing? We're late.
Oh, come on, Ginny. You remember how hard it is sometimes to get a ride?
Right.
Where you headed?
It's down the road a few miles.
Oh, get in.
Right. Get out of the car.
Well, take it easy. We don't want to
Shut up! Just get out.
It was her.
I can't believe it.
Ginny and I walked to a payphone and called the police. They caught the woman the same day and we got our car back. After we gave testimony at her trial, the old murder case was reopened. Fingerprints were found on a tire iron that matched the tattooed woman's. She finally confessed that she had stolen the car and killed the owner all those years ago.
Could this really have happened? Could the same woman have shown up again years later and encountered the same couple? Was some force of fate making sure that the right person was found guilty of the crime? Or was it all just an amazing coincidence? Do you reject this segment as just another lie? Or will you give this piece a chance?
Next, you'll find out which of our stories are fact and which are fiction when Beyond Belief returns.
Now let's look back at tonight's stories and find out which ones are inspired by actual events and which ones are totally false. What about the woman whose computer seemed to channel the spirit of a murder victim? Was this a true story? It's an exercise in creative writing. It's false. How about the story of the patient who was visited by the ghost of her dead husband?
Well, looks like Mrs. Atkins finally has a visitor.
Oh, I hadn't noticed. The hospital community liaison might have notified Mrs. Atkins' church. Yes?
Yeah, he must be her minister. Huh. Looks like Mrs. Atkins' blood pressure has improved.
Do you think you've heard a story like this before? You might have. It's true. According to our research, a similar story happened in the Pacific Northwest in the late 80s. Let's look again at the son who saved his father through an out-of-body experience.
CJ. CJ, over here.
Gary? Is that you?
Peter's in trouble.
What?
He went off the trail and he's hurt. Get a search party together now.
How do you know this?
Just do it, or Peter will die.
Hey, man, give me a phone. Come on, man, give me a phone!
Was this story true? Yes. It was based on a similar event that took place around Colorado about 20 years ago. How about the con man who met his match in a couple of neighborhood vampires?
Took everything.
Did a similar story to this one take place? Could be, but we made this one up. Let's have one more look at the strange story of the 60s couple who encounter their nemesis again years later.
Where you headed?
It's down the road a few miles.
Oh, get in.
Get out of the car.
Well, take it easy. We don't want to
Shut up! Just get out. can't believe it.
Did you guess it was true? You're right. The story spans a 5-year period, covering locations from Northwest California to Eastern Canada. So were things black and white tonight? Or did they seem to be varied shades of gray? And when the truth is shaded, can we still call it truth? Or is the search for truth a complex pursuit where we're certain to encounter things that are beyond belief? I'm Jonathan Frakes.
The true stories on tonight's show were based upon first-hand research by author Robert Tralins. For Beyond Belief, this is Campbell Lane.